Hey, Facebook. Hey, New Jersey Women for Trump. Elizabeth Nader here. It is the night before the election. So if you guys are watching this, I hope you've already voted. And if you haven't, get yourself to the polls tomorrow. But I am so excited tonight to bring to you live 6 candidates. And we're starting with Frank Pilata from District 5. Frank, welcome back to New Jersey Women for Trump.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for having me again.
Absolutely. We had so much fun last time. And thanks to the president, we are here again because this almost didn't happen, right?
Yes, exactly.
Big
news across New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. We lost our page this weekend, but we are back and we are here to make sure people know who you are. It's that final push the night before the election. I know it's a little bit different this year, Frank, but the reality is people all haven't voted. So we still want to talk about that. So Frank, give us a quick background. People know you from last time, but I want a quick background on who you are, and we're going to talk about District 5.
Sure. I am a private sector candidate, a businessman, an entrepreneur. Spent my career in the private sector, 28 years. Did a startup myself where we helped veterans struggling through the financial crisis. And again, that was a great taste of working through the quagmire of Washington, but also working with our great veterans.
Yep.
Very rewarding. I entered the political sphere about 3 years ago. And about 19 months ago, entered the race for Congress. And I don't know if you know this, I think you do. Just 2 days ago, we were endorsed by President Trump. Our campaign was, which was a great surprise.
That's awesome. That's so exciting. And especially for everyone on this page. So here's my message tonight to everyone, Frank. First of all, your business background is amazing. And I think, in the spirit of Trump, anyone that can bring that kind of experience to their district, it's just such a leg above anyone else. And your competitor doesn't have that. But I want to make sure you talk about your district because not everybody watching is in 5. Many are, but they know people in 5. So I want people tonight to reach out to their friends and family and say, have you voted yet? And do you know about Frank? We need you to vote for Frank. So explain, kind of illustrate your district, the counties, what it looks like to people.
Sure. The District 5 starts in Alpine and Hackensack along the easternmost border of Bergen County, right along the Hudson River. So you can imagine you see a lot of high rises, a lot of businesses, small businesses. And it cuts across a lot of people who commute across from Manhattan, and it cuts across the entire northern border of New Jersey up against New York, and then all the way across to Pennsylvania and down about another 80 or 90 miles into Sussex and Warren. It is the second largest district by area. So it's pretty diverse. But the thing that's key about 5, Elizabeth, is you do see small businesses and bodegas and high rises in Bergen County, the easternmost portion of Bergen County, very large neighborhoods in western Bergen County. And you've got the farms of Warren and Sussex.
Yeah.
So NJ5 is almost a microcosm of the entire state. I've been here 30 years, and I'll tell you, you can drive in 20 and 25-minute clips and go to completely different parts of the world. But the people are all the same. They're great, great people.
Wow, that's amazing. So listen, you've been working really, really hard. I know that you've been going door to door. You've had so many events. You talk to your people. What are they telling you? What are their top concerns this election season?
I'll tell you that the top concerns clearly is what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the heels of a pandemic that we've seen to emerge from. But the governor and the congressman, actually all of the Democrat congressmen across the state, refuse to allow New Jersey to begin to move forward. Our unemployment rate is high and lagging the rest of the country. Our small businesses remain closed compared to the rest of the country. And you're seeing also a significant pickup in mental health issues. You're seeing a pickup in violence. You're seeing a pickup both in domestic and outside violence. So, the governor is doing what he's doing, I think, for his own self-serving reasons. But he's not just putting New Jersey and New Jerseyans at risk. He's putting the country at risk, knowing that New Jersey and New York are a gateway to the rest of the country. So, I'm surprised with the background that the governor has and the background that the congressmen have, that they're not getting exactly how the people in New Jersey are suffering with it.
Yeah, and we are suffering. And,
Yeah.
I think the fear is, Frank, what I'm hearing lately is people think he's going to lock us down again. Now, listen, you're running for an office that's in DC, but people need to remember you're representing New Jersey. So, what you do down there affects us, and it matters to you who our governor is and the choices that he makes, because that impacts our lives. And so you have to fight for us. So I want to talk about what you're going to do once you're in Congress in January. What would be your focus? The first few things that you're going to focus on to help us back here in New Jersey.
Well, the first thing I want to focus on the heels of what's going on the last 6 or so months is a little unconventional, Elizabeth, but I am going to go full bore at the governor. This state needs to be opened. And I'll tell you why it affects us at a federal level in a moment. The state needs to be open. We've got, again, more than 19,000 small businesses in District 5, and those numbers shrink every day as some of these business owners shut down, some of them for good. So we need to work with this governor, and if he doesn't, I will, in getting these businesses open. That has to happen. And what that does from a federal standpoint is once these businesses start to open, money flows, you start to see tax revenues flow, the need for stimulus packages begins to wane. And when that happens, then you start to see tax receipts come up. You're not talking about putting our kids and our grandchildren in future peril with a deficit that we may never recover from. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out with this governor and with the remainder of the legislators, particularly in New Jersey, irrespective of what side of the aisle they're on, how we move forward. The governor talks about, well, there's a pickup in COVID cases. There are, and that's understandable, but we're talking about near zero death rates, zero ventilator rates. So you can talk about there being higher rates, but if there's no overnight pickup in overnight hospital stays and those other things, we need to begin to let our people start to open things up. So that's the first thing I'm going to work on. And then from that point on, I think the next thing that's key is working on the infrastructure in Northern Jersey. I do think that's something that does need to work.
Tell us more about that.
Well, we're the gateway to the world. And, some of the infrastructure that we have between New York and New Jersey and Connecticut, 125, 135 years old. So that needs to be worked on. And unfortunately, our Democrat congressional leadership in this state that is trying, not just trying, they already impeached the president and they vowed to impeach him again. You've got to work with the president in order to get these appropriations taken care of and this Gateway Tunnel project move forward. It's already in theory on paper enough to begin to move forward with some working that needs to be done on revenue and tax splits across New York and New Jersey. But that needs to be done. I think there needs to be some comfort level that we've got strong enough infrastructure that we can begin to move. Healthcare is then next. Healthcare is key. And I think the Republican healthcare mindset right now is that we do want to help people with pre-existing conditions. But I think we want to start to introduce some private sector, as you talked about earlier, Elizabeth, some private sector solutions into the equation. Letting the government in things like healthcare, I think only seeks to damage healthcare overall. And finally, I'll leave you with this. Obamacare has succeeded in making insurance providers ridiculously wealthy.
That's right.
Their profits have increased, I believe, 6-fold since Obamacare. While you and I are paying more in premiums and the doctors are almost giving up their practices, the insurers are the ones making money. So we have to bring healthcare back to a relationship between the doctor and the patient.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that anyone would want to defend that scenario, right? To keep Obamacare when the damage that it's done. I think one of the things that Trump has proven, and you know this well as a business owner, when you unleash capitalism, when you unleash it, you let it do. Look, no system's perfect, but capitalism has done pretty well for us for a long time. When you unleash it, it solves problems, right? So when you let entrepreneurs go to work, when you let small business, you remove regulation, all of this allows us to do what Americans do best, which is to innovate, create jobs, bring in the revenue. And this is what it feels like in New Jersey, like it's getting darker and darker and darker. And we need people like you to turn the lights back on for us.
Yeah, well, look, the president has set a pretty good example early on. And I think in the first 6 months of his presidency, he opened the floodgates of taking the handcuffs off the economy simply by working regulations to a point where the large banks begin to say, I'm ready to now lend. And that really is what brought us from unemployment that, Obama said would never dip below a certain level, GDP that Obama said would never get above 1 or 1.5%. We broke through both of those. just by taking, as you said, the handcuffs off the economy and allowing American ingenuity to move us forward. And we can do that again. We've seen with the GDP number, the 33% or 31% GDP improvement that we saw just last week. If we do take the handcuffs off and you let Americans be Americans and the ability to look forward, we can do great things. That's why car windshields are so much bigger than the rearview mirror. There's a lot to look forward to, and we Americans know how to do that, Elizabeth.
Ooh, I love that. I'm gonna steal that, Frank. That's so good. That's so good.
I'm sure nobody heard it. I'm sure you can have it.
I'm taking it. But you know what? You're so right. And I think that Americans, we don't want things for free. We just want to be free. And yeah. I want to take you back to COVID for a little bit because Biden and the whole party keeps saying shut down, mask mandates, all this stuff. No matter what you feel and your level of comfort or discomfort with this virus, why is one party saying, let's go back into shutdowns and mandates and basically draconian measures, and the other party is saying, let us out? I mean, I don't, have you learned enough about the psychology of the other side to understand how they can be supporting that?
Look, I think the Democrat Party is similar to a really bad management team of a terrible company that's driving the company into the toilet. That's what we're the Democrat Party. They don't understand that people, like you said, people want to be set free. They want government regulation, not overregulation, and then the opportunity for us to work. So when our government comes in and has anything that has the word mandate in front of it, and that mandate shuts us down or stifles ingenuity, that's going to cause a problem, Elizabeth. And that's what I think the Democrat Party is about. Let us, the government, handle you. Let us control your life. And that's never what the Republican Party was about. And that's the big difference here is they want to control our life and Republicans want to let the Americans control their life. That's the big difference.
Yeah, I love that. You're right. You're absolutely right. And I think for those of us in New Jersey, we should really remember that Murphy is, the poster child for the Democratic way, way, excuse me, because he really, really wants to control even what you're doing for Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, this guy literally, well, he does. And,
That's right.
And he wants to turn New Jersey into the California of the East. He said as much, and we need people like you to protect us from that. Now, I want you to talk a little bit about who you're running against from this standpoint. What has he done in his time in Congress, and how much time has he spent trying to impeach the president?
Well, look, his crowning achievement, the entire Democrat Party, but specifically Josh Gottheimer, was getting this unanimous impeachment vote out of the Democrat Party. And they were working so hard on that, they didn't see the early warning signs of COVID coming down the pike. That's the problem. They were looking to impeach the president, knowing full well it wouldn't pass through the Senate, and it was a waste of time and money, and they weren't watching what was coming down the pike. It wasn't until the president shut down China that you started to see, hey, this thing was a bigger deal. And then you still had both Biden and Nancy Pelosi making fun of the president and calling him a racist and a xenophobe. So Josh Gottheimer has been part of that party. He doesn't really stand up for us when it comes to dealing with his own party. He then rolled into recently going with his party and defunding the police. He co-sponsored H.R. 7120, which was the defund the police bill. That was a problem on a lot of fronts, but easily 7 out of 10 people in his district did not want that. They didn't want it in any form. In fact, 9 out of 10 don't want defunding at all. And he did it. He did it because his party said he had to do it. So that's really the sin about this congressman, about Josh Gottheimer, is the job, as you said, Elizabeth, early on, you represent the people of this district, irrespective of where party leadership is telling you. Our forebears wrote the Constitution to be 2 weeks there and 2 weeks in our district, and only being a 2-year program, a 2-year term, so you can work in your district, so you can help the people in the district. I've said it to you before. You're supposed to listen here and speak in D.C. You represent this district. That's why you're elected. And Josh doesn't do that. 80% of the money that he's gotten are from donors outside of his district, 70% outside the state. So he's beholden to them and not the people of the 5th district.
Well, I love what you're saying. Listen here and speak in DC. That is such a great way to think about what the job is of the congressperson, right, for the districts in New Jersey. I love that. And let's go back to the police for a little bit, because law and order is a huge thing. And I think the Democrats finally came out against the violence enough to keep it quiet for a little bit before the election. But now we're seeing New York City boarding up. DC is boarding up in preparation for what they all know is probably probably going to be a lot of violence. Let's hope not, but after the election. But go back to that law, because one thing a lot of people don't understand is that that law also took away immunity for the police. I want you to talk about that, because that is a very serious implication.
Sure. Qualified immunity is something that protects not just the police officer, but the police officer's family from criminal prosecution. And it doesn't protect a police officer if the officer breaks the law. And that's the story that the Democrats try and tell people is, if an officer breaks the law, this gives them a get out of jail free card. That's not the case. The police officer that was implicated in the George Floyd situation, he is going through a legal process now, and I don't know how this will end up, but he is somebody who I think initially we saw that there really wasn't a justification for what he does. We still have to wait till things play out. But what the Democrat Party has tried to do here is take the handcuffs and put them on the police. And that's a problem. And Josh lost his endorsement by one of the largest unions in the country, the New Jersey PBA, because he decided to snub his finger at police officers and again go with his party. So qualified immunity protects them legally, but while Josh runs around saying, well, gee, we didn't have the word defund in that bill. Well, they were clever enough to look at a third grade thesaurus and know that there's a number of different synonyms for defund. They used reallocation. They used withhold funds. So they did do it. They tried to be cute about it. And if they keep denying it, they're basically saying that the PBA was wrong and the PBA didn't read the law the bill the right way. So they need to wear the fact that they defunded the police, and they continue to talk about defunding our brave men and women in blue.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It's because Nancy Pelosi told them to. I think, for those who haven't voted yet, when you're voting and you consider who you're voting for, I want you to remember that if you choose a Democrat, you might as well see Nancy Pelosi's face, because the truth is she tells them what to do. We've seen it time and time again that she is the one dictating. Most of them vote 90 to 95%, 99% of the time often, by what she dictates. And I think most of the country has Pelosi fatigue, and she absolutely is part of all of this. Now, listen, immigration is another issue people sometimes don't think about because they don't think of us, not a border state and all of that, but they need to remember the decisions Murphy's made and what he's done with the immigrants. So I want you to talk about that too, because you're going to need to take a position on immigration. And so tell everybody what you stand for in that topic.
Sure. From an immigration standpoint, my father was the first person in his family born in this country. And I understand that we need immigration. We need legal immigration. That's how it's happened for years. It's not fair to those that have waited in line to go through and have other people jump the line. But immigration, we need to move forward for a number of reasons. First is, the very fabric of this country are our immigrants. And we need to make sure that there's an opportunity for them to come in and make a living like you and I and our grandparents before us did. And that's key. But we really need to keep an eye on those that look to take advantage of the system. And when we have veterans dying in the streets and living in the streets in this country, but we're creating opportunities for illegal immigrants to come in, and they get free health care, and they get free housing, and they get free healthcare and schooling and education. That's a problem. That's a problem, not just optically, because again, we've got veterans dying in the streets and we have people who are waiting online, but from a fiscal standpoint, we're spending billions and billions of dollars a year just to care for the illegal immigrants that are coming across the border. So we do need to secure our borders. And look, I think the president has gone far enough, has gone a bit of a ways in doing this. We need to continue to go down that road. We are the most violent country the world has ever known, and we will remain that way. But we need to make sure our immigration policy is in place such that people know that they can come in and immediately contribute to our country and our tax base while allowing them to be who they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Frank. Well, listen, you know what? We are coming near the end of our time, and we have another surprise guest here who's about to join us. So I want you to tell the voters, those in your District 5 and those who know people in your district, give them that last push for why you need to go over the finish line tomorrow. And listen, everybody, we need you to vote. It's getting very close. We can do this. So Frank, give them that last word.
Sure. Look, this is, and this is not hyperbole. This will be the most important election of all of our lifetimes. I haven't lived through many, but I've talked to my dad. This is the one. This is the one that will define our generation. I represent this district as well as anyone who's running, as well as anyone who's ever run. this is a point. We're at a point in our country now where we are on the precipice of a health crisis, of an economic crisis. We're on the precipice of a constitutional crisis. We understand, we the Republican Party understand how valuable our Constitution is, what we stand for. And our party on the left is moving very left, and they're moving to a socialist platform that everybody is beginning to understand, including them. I think this is a conscious effort on their part. So I represent not just Republican values, but good, true capital markets, open market, conservative values. And that's what I will represent, and that's what I will do. And one last thing, I am doing this for you. I'm doing this for the people in our district, for the people in our state, and the people in our country. I am not where the president was, where he could have flown all over the world wherever he wanted. But I'm in a position now where I have the means and the opportunity and a heartfelt desire to make sure that I'm doing well for my children and my grandchildren and every sibling and every grandchild and child of the people in our district. And that's what I will do. And that is my heartfelt promise.
Awesome, Frank. Thank you. Well, you deserve everybody's vote. We're going to add in a friend of yours here. Look who's here. Look at that.
Hey Frank, how are you? Elizabeth, pleasure to be here.
That's great. Isn't this fun, you guys? I should just put everybody in. We'll just have a big club meeting, right?
Absolutely.
Frank, it's like a party.
It's like a party the night before the big party. Frank, thank you so much. We're going to let you go. We're going to move on to David. We appreciate you, Frank. Go get them. Go knock on some more doors tonight. Make some more calls. Let's bring you over the finish line.
Absolutely. Hey, David, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you, Frank. Same to you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Frank. Bye. All right. David Richter, candidate for Congress in District 3. David, welcome back to New Jersey Women for Trump.
Elizabeth, it's great to be here. I can't tell you how excited I am. I've been running for Congress for a long time, and we have 24 hours to go.
Yeah, it's amazing that it's here already, right? All the work that you've done all this time. We are on the eve of the election. It's not a normal election, but we still have a lot of people who haven't voted. They haven't been listening to us. We still love them, but they haven't voted. So it's an important evening for people listening. Now, here's the thing, David, not everybody's in 3, and I'm going to say this through the next 2 hours with all the candidates time and time again, but they most of these people know people in 3 or they live in 3. So we need to listen to what you stand for tonight. I need people to reach out if they're not in 3, talk to their neighbors, their friends, their family who live there, and remind them why they need to vote for you. So David, I want you to give everybody a quick background. You've been here before, but we've got now double the people, by the way. So we've got new people listening, and I want you to tell them about who you are.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm a South Jersey guy. I grew up in Burlington County in Willingboro. I went to school in the Delaware Valley College and Law School, and I've lived or worked in South Jersey almost my entire life. So I know the district. I know it well. It's my home district. And I care about my country as well. I'm a husband and father of 4 teenage daughters. And I care about my country. I care about the world that they're going to grow up in. And I want to make sure that they have the same opportunity for success in life, the same rights, the same everything that my generation has had. And I want the same thing for everybody's family.
Yeah.
And so I think we're at a pivotal moment in history. I heard Frank talk a little bit about it, how important this election is. We've got an incredibly important choice to make by tomorrow, which is the direction of our country. Are we going to continue the course with freedom and liberty and economic opportunity, with a strong defense, strong borders, the rule of law, which is now under threat, support for our law enforcement community? Or are we going to head down a very dramatically different path of today's Democratic Party, which is not the same Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy?
Not at all.
It's not even the same Democratic Party of Bill Clinton. It is headed radically to the left. Joe Biden may, in fact, be the first presidential candidate to win his party's nomination and then hand the platform over to the people he defeated to draft, because it's the platform of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And there's no question that if Joe were to win, which I don't think will happen, you're talking about the biggest leftward shift probably in American history.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, David? I don't think that that's New Jersey. Listen, we talk a lot about New Jersey being blue, but I don't think New Jersey is that extreme. I really think we have to stop and think about the fact that all of us have families and all of us who, enjoy living here. We have our businesses, our careers, that what they represent is so extreme. And sometimes Republicans in New Jersey will feel disenfranchised and feel like everything is blue, but I don't believe we're that extreme. And I think you're going to get a lot of walkaway votes from Democrats this year.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't think Democratic voters are extreme. I think they're very moderate. But I think the party leadership has gone dramatically leftward and has become very radicalized. The Squad and Bernie Sanders are no longer at the extreme of the party. They're the thought leaders in today's Democratic Party. And I think that's true even of Joe Biden. I don't think he's going to be in control of the agenda if he were to win. I think Kamala Harris would be the president in waiting.
Yeah.
And I've got an opponent right now in Andy Kim, who came into this district 2 years ago pretending to be a moderate, and has acted in office like a complete radical along the lines of AOC and her ilk.
Yeah,
someone who's a member of the Progressive Caucus, someone who has voted with Nancy Pelosi almost 98% of the time, has voted with AOC almost 95% of the time.
Yeah,
that's not somebody who is a moderate Democrat. And this is in the 3rd district, a fairly Republican district. It's Republican leaning. It voted for President Trump by 6 points 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find out tomorrow it voted for him by more than 6 points.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a very strong performance. I've seen a tremendous amount of grassroots support for the president out there in the district, from boat parades to motorcades, tremendous number of flags and signs and bumper stickers all over the district. And I just don't see that enthusiasm for Joe Biden at all.
Oh, you don't? You mean when you watch the 12 circles that, you don't see it? No, I agree with you. Now, listen, I want you to describe your district a little bit for people who may not know what 3 is. Kind of give us the overview of what your district is.
Of course. Well, it's almost all of Burlington County, and it's most of Ocean County. It's historically Republican. Before Andy Kim, Tom MacArthur held the seat for 4 years. And for 4 years before that, it was John Runyon.
Yeah.
It's got a history of electing moderate Republicans to the seat. And I think they're going to do it again this year. I don't have any doubt at all that the president is a stronger candidate than he was 4 years ago.
Agreed.
And that Joe Biden is a weaker candidate, if you can believe that, than Hillary Clinton ever was.
Yeah. Well, he's a weaker candidate than he was 47 years ago. I mean, whatever that looks like. But you know what, David, you have some specific experience. And I think a lot like I was talking to Frank about the business experience, I think is tremendous. It's something that made Trump such an excellent CEO of our nation. I want you to talk about your business experience because it's molded the way you see things and the decisions you make in your support of capitalism. So let everybody know what that looked like.
Sure. I have a very similar background to the president. This is my first run for public office. I started my career as an attorney up in New York, but I came back down to South Jersey, back home, to join my dad in a family business that he had started in construction management, helping to build public works and infrastructure all over the world. And it was a company that was heading into bankruptcy, and we worked hard to turn it around. And we saved it, and we grew it from a company with about 300 employees into a company with 4,300 employees by the time I left.
Wow.
And it was a New York Stock Exchange public company at that time worth almost $250 million.
Wow.
So it had a tremendous amount of success in the business world. Not that you would know that from watching Andy Kim's commercials attacking them.
I know. Well, that's why he attacks you there. When someone attacks you there, that's your strong suit, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the voters have had enough. They don't like negative campaigning. I have run a 100% positive campaign about me, my background, and what I want to accomplish in Congress for the citizens of the 3rd district.
Yeah.
And that's resonating. And negative campaigning tends to fall flat or be counterproductive. And Andy Kim has spent millions trying to attack me, and I don't think it's going to work. I think the voters have seen through it. And I'm seeing and expecting a lot of support on Election Day. I think this is a race that we're going to win.
Yeah.
I think it largely depends upon how well the president does in the district. But if he could get up into the 8 to 10% margin range, I think we've got a very, very good shot to win the seat back.
Yeah, I think you do too, from everything that I'm hearing. And Frank made a good point. He said, you need to listen locally and speak in DC. So I want you to tell us, when you go to DC in January, what are you speaking about? How are you representing District 3? What are their issues? What do they talk to you about? Tell us what you're going to do in Congress.
The issues that I hear from the voters, and it's perfectly in line with my background and what I think I can bring to the district, is we've got to rebuild the economy, and we've got to bring jobs back to South Jersey. The president did a great job of doing that for his first 3 years in office. Unfortunately, COVID took a lot of the wind out of the sails of the American economy.
Yeah,
I think the president has been unjustly blamed for COVID and the government's response to it. But I think that's almost entirely unfair. Mm-hmm. But we need to get the economy going again. We need to help small business, and the economy of the 3rd district is heavily dependent upon small and family-owned businesses, particularly down at the shore, in Ocean County. And we need to bring those back. They've been unfairly, I think, punished by Governor Murphy, who has been arbitrary and very heavy-handed in how he's dealt with the lockdown. We need to bring those businesses back, and we need to bring the jobs back that come with them reopening.
Yep.
And as I say in the campaign trail, I don't need to be an advocate for Exxon and Citigroup in Washington and Congress. They've got teams of lobbyists, but I want to be an advocate for small business.
Yeah.
That generally doesn't have a voice in Washington.
Yeah.
And fight for them, because I've run a small business. Mm-hmm. I built it into a large business, and I understand the challenges that business people and entrepreneurs face when they're dealing with the government, when they're trying to basically survive year to year. And taxes are going up, which they've done under Governor Murphy, and they absolutely will do under Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
And, nobody believes this lie that if you make under $400,000, you won't see tax increases. Everybody in the country will see tax increases if Biden were to win.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I want to do, I think our taxes are already too high. I think the 2017 Tax Act was a great one for business and helped spur the economy over the last couple of years. But I think we need another round of that to cut individual rates more and bring tax relief to working families and middle-class families all over the country.
Oh, man, we need that. David, we need that in New Jersey. I mean, I think we're just on the brink of so much pain. It's been so bad already. We need people in Congress to stand up for us. We're getting exhausted, really. And I think now a lot of us are concerned that we're heading towards more heavy-handed stuff from Murphy, more shutdowns. He's basically got his foot on the throat of New Jersey, and especially small business. It is the backbone of this economy. So it's music to our ears to hear you say that. Even if someone doesn't own a small business, they probably work for one. And so they want their employers to do well and be supported by the government. Now, I want you to switch a little bit to the healthcare situation, because that came up again with the Supreme Court, nomination and all of that, talking about how she's going to destroy the Affordable Care Act. So now that's back in the news again. So what is your position on healthcare, and what would you do in Congress to address that?
Well, when I ran a business, healthcare was very important to us because we were trying to attract and retain the best professionals in the construction industry. So we offered the best healthcare we possibly could. And in fact, when prescription drug costs continue to escalate year after year, we self-insured prescription drugs for our employees so they wouldn't have to go out of pocket. And so I've spent a lot of time focused on healthcare over the years. We were told 10 years ago that Obamacare, the ACA, was going to fix the healthcare system in this country. And now, just 10 years later, you see a huge number of Democrats advocating for Medicare for all, for a 100% government paid and managed healthcare system, which would be a disaster, an absolute disaster for our country. Yeah. You've got less than 20 million people that are covered by Obamacare, but you've got 180 million people in this country that are covered by healthcare plans that are provided by their employers.
Right.
And they're happy with that, overwhelmingly happy. And these calls for Medicare for all, and one of the groups calling for that is the Progressive Caucus, of which Annie Kim is a member. Medicare for all would bankrupt every private health insurance company in the country, would force us all onto a one-size-fits-all, government-paid-for, government-implemented healthcare system that would drive costs up and drive quality radically down, significantly downward, and wait times would escalate. It's essentially socialized medicine.
Right.
And I don't see anybody in the 3rd district that wants that. I think it would be a disaster. I think there are lots of ways that we can improve the healthcare system, primarily using more market-based opportunities.
Always,
Why we have 50 separate health insurance markets in the country, state by state, instead of one national healthcare system.
Right.
Let these companies compete against each other, drive quality up, and drive costs down.
Yep.
That would be a huge improvement to the healthcare system.
Yep. Again, let capitalism fix it, right? Let capitalism do what it needs to do.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with Andy Kim. He has worked for the government his entire life. He views every problem as having a government solution because that's how he views the world.
Right.
And having worked in the private sector my entire career, I understand that competition is a good thing.
Yeah.
And the government doesn't have to pay for everything in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because nothing is free. There was a joke the other day I saw about AOC was on The Price is Right. But she lost because she guessed the price of everything was free. Nothing in our society is free. And somebody always has to pay that bill, and it's going to be the taxpayers, and we are the taxpayers. So I think 4 years of Joe Biden would be a disaster for this country. We absolutely need to reelect President Trump.
We absolutely do. I think Reagan used to say the worst thing you can hear is here's the government, I'm here to help, right? We don't want your help, and we want you to do your job, but we don't want you in our lives that much. So your competitor, how much time did he spend on impeaching Trump, and how much time did he spend on passing legislation that helped your district?
He spent 100% of his time in Congress accomplishing absolutely nothing because Nancy Pelosi wouldn't let him. And you saw for the last 2 years, it was investigation after investigation. The impeachment was a disgrace. There was no basis for that whatsoever. And the Senate easily and quickly dispatched it. Andy Kim was an early and vocal advocate for impeachment, which is strange because this is a district, again, President Trump won by 6 points.
Right.
The voters of this district wanted President Trump to be in office, and yet Andy Kim voted to impeach him on hardly any evidence whatsoever.
Right.
Because he made a phone call.
Right.
And, that's just not what this district needs in their representative in Congress. They need someone who's going to get things done.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think Andy is far too liberal for this district. He does what most politicians do. He makes a lot of promises and talks about how moderate and bipartisan he is. But the reality is when he's in Washington, D.C., he is voting along with the radical leftists in the Democratic Party. They're standing up to President Trump, fighting his agenda, trying to impeach him, trying to create bad headlines, just to try and hurt him in this election. And so for the last 2 years, he's accomplished nothing for the citizens of the 3rd District. And I like to talk about, he brags about all the town halls he's had and the committees he sits on and the bills he's co-sponsored. Those aren't accomplishments.
No.
That's the basic job description of being a congressman.
Yeah.
Tasks that benefited the 3rd District or benefited our country at all.
Right.
And the answer is he's got nothing to talk about, which is why his TV ads are all about likability and him walking down Main Street shaking hands and ads attacking me because he can't talk about his accomplishments in office because he hasn't done anything worthy of him being reelected.
Right. Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I think we're going to get some good news at the end of the night. It's we absolutely have an uphill battle. It's a David versus Goliath fight, but I'm David, so I think my chances are good.
You were named aptly. You were named aptly for this. And you're right, it is that. But you know what? Americans love the David Goliath story. We're up for it. We're ready to change everything red. And we have a lot of Democrat friends who are ready to do that too. That's the truth. They don't want the extreme and they don't want Nancy Pelosi. And I'm going to say that tonight 1,000,000 times. If you vote for the Democrat for Congress, it is Nancy Pelosi. Put her face right there because that's who you're voting for. And I think most people, that makes their stomach turn. So David, we have our next guest waiting. So I want you to do this. I want you to summarize why it's so important for District 3 to get out if they haven't already and people still haven't voted. That's why we're here tonight. We know people are going to show up tomorrow. We want people in your district to make sure they show up because their vote matters. This can come down to a few hundred votes sometimes, and they need to call their friends and family. So give us a summary of why David Richter and why you need to be put into Washington.
Well, first of all, we need to reelect President Trump. And I think that's going to happen. I don't believe the polls. I think they're wrong, just like they were 4 years ago. But if we reelect President Trump and Nancy Pelosi is still Speaker of the House, nothing's going to get done for the next 2 years, just like nothing got done for the last 2 years in the House of Representatives. And you can fire Nancy Pelosi, by electing me to Congress.
Amen.
It's the only way you can fire Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
And I've promised people that I want to be on the House floor in January when they have to take that gavel out of her hands and send her into permanent retirement. We need a Republican majority House. We need a Republican majority Senate. And we need President Trump reelected, and we can get some great things done for this country.
Yep.
And make sure that the party of socialism doesn't take over our government.
Absolutely.
Because if they do, they're going to start to try to pack the Supreme Court and take over the third branch of government. They're going to try to add DC and Puerto Rico as states to bring in 4 more liberal Democratic U.S. senators. They're going to start to break every rule that's ever existed in this country.
Yep.
Just to get their arms around the wheels, the leverage of power in our country, and then never have to give them up.
Yep.
They think, and it's always strange to me because I was taught that the ends do not justify the means. But I got to tell you, I feel that way about liberals, that they think the ends justify any means necessary.
That's true.
And it's disgraceful.
Yep.
And the only way that we can stop that from happening in this country is to reelect President Trump and elect me to Congress. And I'm working very hard to make that happen. If every Republican in the 3rd district turns out, I can win this seat and we can do some great things for the next 2 years.
All right, guys, come on. You can make that happen. Everybody who's in District 3, make sure you voted. If you haven't, get there tomorrow. Get your friends, get your family, reach out to those. David, you're going to do it. We're excited to celebrate with you once that happens. And I'm going to bring in a friend here. Hold on, right before you leave us. Look who I have over here. Rosemary.
Hey, Rosemary.
There she
is. Hey, good evening.
Come closer to us, Rosemary. We want to see your lovely face. All right, David, thank you so much. Best of luck to you. And we're excited to hear the good news.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for having me on and for putting this platform together. Everybody that's been on your show tonight deserves to win.
Amen.
Nobody more so than Rosemary. She's worked very hard, and I wish you good luck. And I'm looking forward to working with you in Congress.
Exactly. And I wish you well. We've all worked very hard, so we're going to just take this across the finish line.
You got it. All right, David.
Good luck tomorrow. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, David. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Rosemary Becky, District 11. I'm so excited to have you back. It's great. Oh, hold on.
Thanks for having me.
There you go. All right. Rosemary, we're so happy to have you here. And now, everybody, this is District 11. It happens to be my district. So if I get a little more fangirling, that's why that's happening, right? Rosemary, wow, this has been quite an experience, your candidacy. I just want you to share with everybody what this has been like, what you've been hearing in the district. I mean, you have been really turning heads. I mean, people are taking notice. So share with us this experience and what you've learned during the past, I don't know, what has it been? 8 months, 11 months?
It's been about 11 months now for me. And it's, you know what? It's been an incredible journey. And as my husband said to me, the most wonderful thing about all of this is we've met such incredible people and made such great friends. And, and I couldn't be prouder of our campaign. We have worked hard, and you know what? We're just going to keep going. I never quit. So that's the one thing about me.
No, that is so true. You are a really hard worker. Now, for those of you that on listening right now that haven't met Rosemary before, I don't know where you've been, under a rock somewhere, but let's go back into a little bit of your background and your experience, Rosemary, because it's very valuable. And it's actually some of the things you've done have affected a lot of us personally. I'm talking about the 529, but I want you to tell everybody about what your background is and why it's so well suited for you to be representing us in Congress.
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, I'm a wife and I'm a mother of 3 teenage daughters who have been living through COVID. And I'm a tax lawyer, and I've been fighting my entire career for lower taxes and less regulation. And as you pointed out, I was very fortunate in my career that I worked in the United States Senate at the Senate Finance Committee as tax counsel. And I had the opportunity while working there to co-author the 529 college savings plans. And it's something near and dear to my heart because I was one of those kids that graduated with over $100,000 in debt. And, when you owe that kind of money, it really changes your life and it changes what you can do. And, knowing that families can save on a regular basis through a 529, I truly knew the difference that would make in the lives of families. Yeah. That, kids can graduate debt free. I have a young lady that works for me, and she shared with me one day that her parents had saved not only for her college, but also for her law school. And it meant she could start a family sooner, right? Rather than being burdened with all that debt. And so, that's honestly why I want to go to Washington, is because I want to work for the people of this district. I think they deserve somebody that's going to go there and actually get things done.
Yeah. Wow. Can you imagine somebody that actually did something besides trying to impeach a president? I mean, here's the thing. We have all gotten so disenfranchised and sort of cynical because we feel like people go to Washington and we're like, it's like a black box. What are they doing? It doesn't affect us. I mean, this is an example of doing something like the 529 and getting behind a project that has a direct impact on people's lives. And we are at the point where we need candidates that do that. Now, District 11 has its own unique issues. I want you to kind of describe the district to those who are listening, because here's the thing, guys. I'm going to say it again all night. If you're in District 11, you already know that. If you haven't voted, we still love you. Vote tomorrow. Go to the polls and do it. Now that's your option, right? But if you know people in our district, in District 11, call them up tonight. Tell them, listen, it can push Rosemary over. The numbers are looking good. Rosemary, you are just absolutely right there. So I want you to describe the district for people who don't know it.
So the district is made up of mostly Morris County. It's got towns like Parsippany and Morristown and Randolph in it. It's also got a piece of Passaic, which includes Wayne. And then we've also got 5 towns in Sussex as well. And then we've got kind of the west part of Essex, which includes like Nutley and the Caldwells and a piece of West Orange and Livingston and a few places like that. But, and I got to tell you, I've been knocking on doors.
I was going to say that. You've been in every one of those neighborhoods, and I am not overstating that at all. I mean, everywhere.
I have been walking every single neighborhood since September. And I will tell you, and I was actually out all day today. I started at 9 a.m. and wrapped up about 6 tonight. And everywhere I go, people look, they want to get our economy restarted. They care deeply about their jobs and their future. And they care about getting their kids back in school and opening those schools safely and quickly. Yeah. And the other thing they care a lot about is their safety and security. Everywhere I go, people are talking about that and they want to support the police. Yeah. And so those are like the issues that people really care about in the district. And as you pointed out, I mean, my opponent, she's been nowhere to be found. She hasn't been campaigning. I mean, she's been totally MIA, and she hasn't represented the people of this district. I hear over and over from people how she has let them down, how she hasn't been responsive to their needs. I mean, look at just what happened in the CARES Act. Morris County got zero direct funding, right? Passaic gets $87 million. Zero.
Unbelievable.
I mean, she fell asleep at the switch and has been asleep at the switch. And the people of this district deserve so much better.
Yeah. And by the way, I've been door knocking a lot too. And I can't tell you how many people say that to me. You know what? They say, I voted for her. Where is she? She promised X, Y, and Z. She promised not to be, super progressive, that she would be moderate. And she wasn't. And what is she doing? And I'm like, I can't answer that question because I don't know what she's doing. Like literally, she's MIA. It feels that way to us It really does. I've heard it time and again. I'm not just saying that because you're my person. I'm saying that because I've heard it so many times. Now, the thing is, I'm going to say this again tonight. I'm saying it on every interview. My belief is, and I know you agree with me, if you vote for a Democrat for Congress, you're voting for Nancy Pelosi, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in this instance, it couldn't be clearer. I mean, Mikey Sherrill just does exactly what she's told. I mean, she is the most consistent vote for Nancy Pelosi in the New Jersey delegation, 99%. That means she doesn't even think about what she's doing. She just votes like that. And she votes with the squad 94% of the time. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right.
She hasn't, and she promised everybody she was going there and she's going to be a different kind of Democrat. And she hasn't been. She's just been a rubber stamp for Nancy and for her policies.
Yep, absolutely. Now you got the endorsement of the PBA. You have obviously stood for police. You stand for law and order, and that's a big issue right now. And it's a big issue in our district. I mean, we're not people who want to defund the police in any way. Are people talking to you about that?
No, they talk about it to me all the time. Almost every door I knock on, it comes up in the conversation. I mean, people are very worried about their safety and security. Look, there are so many people in this district that, go into New York City for their jobs and aren't right now. And it's not just because of COVID. It's also because their employers are worried about their safety and security. Right. And so, people, they want to support the police, and it's not about defunding the police. And it's so ludicrous that Mikey Sherrill voted for the bill that would allow a criminal to sue a police officer for doing their job. And she tried to rationalize it in our debate and tried to rationalize why that's okay is to let a criminal sue a police officer. It's idiotic. It makes no sense.
Yeah. No, once again, it strips away more from us, like more and more and more. How much more can we lose in this state? I mean, it's becoming darker and darker. We need people like you to go and fight for us. Here's the other thing that I love about how you bring your heart to this. And it's what you feel about kids and your experience with special needs kids and your own family. I want you to tell that story because listen, it matters, and it especially matters to women. And we have men listening and we want their votes too. We love them, but we are on New Jersey Women for Trump. So we're mostly women here on this page. And, we have a unique concern about children. So I want you to talk about not only your experience, but the things that you're concerned about.
Yeah, no, I mean, I worry about our children every day. And as I've shared with many people, my daughter was born without her esophagus connected to her stomach. And she's had a lifetime of health issues, as well as education issues. Yeah. And I also have a nephew who is autistic and he's nonverbal. And watching these kids, kind of try to struggle through all of this and not being able to get the services that they need, really resonated. And to be frank, as I talk more and more to people and families throughout the districts, so many families were dealing with the same issues. And we, in doing kind of our meetings and talking, it became readily apparent that we needed a Bill of Rights for the disabled. And so, along with many passionate men and women, we got together and worked with the Special Olympics and others and put together a Bill of Rights for the disabled because it is something I'm very, very passionate about. And I also think that this whole pandemic raises the issue about school choice and vouchers, right? Like if our schools can't get our kids the services they need, then what we ought to be doing is taking those vouchers and those tax dollars and giving it to parents so that they can find what their children need. Amen. I mean, I know with my own daughter, I knew exactly what she needed and stuff. Nobody ever knew better than I. And I think every parent knows what their child needs, and they should be empowered to make those decisions for their kids. And again, this pandemic has only highlighted that. I mean, my daughter can't learn one-dimensionally. She just can't. It causes her extreme anxiety. And so we ought to be listening to our parents. And right now we're not.
Yeah, I agree with you. And when did we stop thinking about the children? You know, the Democrat Party has always tried to position themselves as a party of sensitivity, and they're worried about all those things. When did we stop worrying about our children? This pandemic has been awful, not only for the special needs children, but across the board, mental health of our children is a huge concern. And I don't hear anyone talking about it except the Republicans. And listen, you're going to Washington, but you're going there to represent us. And we are hurting. Murphy has caused an immense amount of pain, not only with businesses, but also with our families, you know, with our children. He is literally taking away from our children things in their future that they're supposed to experience. For what? And it's got to end. So we need you in Congress to represent us, to free us from this. Now, I want you to talk about Trump for a second, because we're on a Trump page, right? And I want to remind people, listen, District 11 was red for a long time, and it went for Trump in 2016. So really, Rosemary, this is Trump country, isn't it?
It is absolutely Trump territory. Yeah. I mean, and as you said, the president won this district. He won it by a little over a point. I think he's going to win it big. I really do. Yeah. I think when people stop and think about their values and issues, it is so readily apparent that people will be voting for the president.
I think so too. Too. And, you know, I'm disturbed that your opponent hasn't been campaigning. Honestly, I mean, the one part of me thinks, great, she's not campaigning. The other part of me thinks, does she think she just deserves our vote and she's just going to get it? I think that speaks volumes that she has not done anything. I mean, she showed up for the debates with a cynical, snarky look on her face. I'm sorry, but as women, we know what that look was. And, you know, I don't see her fighting for us. I really think she thinks she's just a shoo-in. And I want everyone in District 11 to know you need to send her packing.
And I will tell you, I hear that from people when I am out knocking on doors. They know she hasn't been anywhere. They know she hasn't campaigned. And it is absolutely clear. Right. And people think it's arrogant, and people think that she doesn't care about them in the district. And look, people deserve somebody that's a voice for them and that is out there and is going to listen to them and is going to show up at events, actually show up. Right. And be present, and they deserve that. Yeah. And it's not acceptable not to show up, and it absolutely hasn't. And I will tell you, and I think this is a really important story to talk about. You know, the state VFW tried for 2 years to meet with her, 2 years, and she turned them down repeatedly. You know, that speaks volume. And as they told me, never had a member treated them like that. And they don't deserve that. Our vets deserve somebody that's bending over backwards to meet with them and to address their needs and introduce bills on their behalf. Absolutely. And be a spokesman. I just don't know how you behave like that. It's not acceptable.
No, it's not. And I know from personal experience and many other entrepreneurs from last spring when we had to figure out all the PPP and all this craziness that came out, her office shut down. They didn't return phone calls. And, you know, that's when everyone kind of became aware of you, because we reached out to you. You made the phone calls. You worked your contacts. You found out what you could. It was all very confusing. You helped us. You literally put money in people's bank accounts when they needed to make payroll. So that to me is what a working member of Congress does. So Rosemary, we need to get you over the finish line. And I just want to remind everybody, District 11, guys, get those votes in and call friends and family. Tell them to show up tomorrow. Their vote matters. We can literally win this with just a few hundred votes or less. It's crazy in elections when you start digging in these numbers. Rosemary, give the last pitch here on why it's so important that people put you in Washington.
Look, I think the people of this district deserve somebody that's going to put people over politics, that's truly going to go to Washington and work for you. And I think you deserve it. And I am that person. I am the person that's going to go to Washington, roll up their sleeves, and make sure your voice is heard. And as Elizabeth said, I need your help. So you got to fill out those ballots and you got to take it to the drop box. That is still up until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. The best way to handle things is to fill it out and go to that drop box. You can take your filled out ballot to the polling place, but I highly recommend, if you don't want to stand in line, take it to the drop box, because your vote will get counted that way. And you are right. This is going to be a close election, and we can do it. We have got to make sure our voice is heard. Absolutely. And this election is, I mean, I tell my kids this, I tell everyone this. We're at a fork in the road in this country, and like never before. And you got a path towards socialism, and you got a path towards freedom. Yep. And I'll be darned if I'm going to go down the socialism path. I'm going to go down kicking and screaming for freedom, because our kids deserve that, and we deserve that.
We do deserve that. And it's not just Trump we need to put in to do that. We need a working Congress that will allow him to do what he needs to continue to do to make us free and keep us free. So, Rosemary, we're going to work to the very, very end. I will see you tomorrow night. I'm excited for you. Thank you for coming on. I'm just going to add our next guest here. Guess who's here? See, I love it. I have these little surprises for everybody. Rick is here. Rosemary, thank you. I'm going to take you out of the stream and keep working. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
See you, Rosemary.
Bye. All right. We have Rick Maida. I thank you so much for coming on to New Jersey Women for Trump. You are our candidate for U.S. Senate. I got to tell you, Rick, the debate was awesome. Tell us what's going on in your campaign.
Thank you. So first of all, I just want to give a special shout out. I'm squatting in Jeff Van Drew's victory office. I'm down in South Jersey right now on the campaign trail.
Great.
You know what? There's no rest for the weary, and no good deed goes unpunished. We are grinding. We got the phone lines right now. We're out there. We're making phone calls, and we're driving out the vote. We have a real opportunity to turn the entire state of New Jersey red. I'm so proud to be the United States Senate nominee for the Republican Party this year, running with President Trump, and great congressional candidates all up and down the state. So we've just built up a lot of energy, and I'm excited.
Yeah,
so,
we're excited for you, and we're excited for you. And Rick, we were excited before, but something happened in the debates. It just people were just talking about it. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I want you to back up, because if anyone hasn't seen your interview before, you've been with us before, definitely. But I want you to give them some background on who you are, so that they're armed with that knowledge. Because everyone watching, if you haven't voted yet, you need to vote for Rick. This isn't a district issue. This is a state issue. So Rick, tell us all about you.
Absolutely. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be with you. You know, my story started 50 years ago when my father first immigrated to this country through the legal process. He only had $100 in his pocket. We didn't have much. Came into JFK Airport. He flew in, 2 feet of snow on the ground. He took the bus to Scranton, Pennsylvania. He opened up a phone book. He called an Indian sounding name, and they took him in. They gave him a hot meal and a roof over his head. And that's how we got our start in this country. It's always been about hard work, humble beginnings, and the belief that the American dream is available to anyone willing to chase it. And Elizabeth, you know, I've chased it. I went to Rutgers Pharmacy School, became a pharmacist. I worked overnights to put myself through law school. In fact, at pharmacy school is where I met my beautiful wife, Rima. We live in Morris County in Tom Kane's district in CD7. We got 3 beautiful boys. And my entire campaign is based on one premise: make New Jersey a place to live, not leave. And so we've been chasing the American dream. I'm blessed to live it, but so many people are looking to move out of our state and relocate. Our businesses are being crushed. People can't feed their family. Our taxes are exorbitantly high. And we got 2 failing U.S. senators that haven't shown their commitment to the people of New Jersey. It's time for change. Please. It's time to get our economy back on track. So that's what I've done in my private sector. I've started my own biotech companies. I'm a Georgetown law professor. I got 4 degrees, but you know, the most important thing for me is being a husband and a father. And the one asset that I do have against Cory Booker is that I am not a career politician.
Yay.
I'm in it because I want to change the way New Jersey is headed.
I love it. And you're not Spartacus. That's another thing you have going for you. So I could never get past that. So you talk about is people not leaving Jersey, but living in New Jersey, staying in New Jersey, doing well, prospering. So what can you do for us? Because right now it's feeling dark, Rick. It's feeling like that's going the wrong direction. How can you help us?
Okay, Elizabeth, here it is. You know, the Democrats don't come with the plan. Here's the plan. Many, you know this, but New Jersey is a donor state. That means we get less than 70 cents back to every dollar we send. How in a time of a recession, when our small businesses are being crushed, do we continue to send more money to Washington than we get back? Cory Booker has not been there. You know, Cory Booker missed more than 65% of the votes in the Senate last year. That's more than any senator or congressperson in Washington.
Wow.
We need someone who brings authentic leadership that wants to roll up their sleeves and get the job done. Step one, get more federal funding back. Get our Gateway project done. We need an entire national infrastructure overhaul. It's not just the Gateway. I mean, it's our breaking bridges and our roads, our highways. And you see Governor Murphy, he's hiking up our tolls, hiking up our taxes. Then you need a senator who's going to hold the governor accountable. Okay.
Yeah.
As a former health professional, public health official, it breaks my heart to see what Governor Murphy did to our elderly when half the deaths to COVID in our state are because of his executive order, and not one senator from New Jersey has held the governor accountable. You better believe when I get to Washington, I'm going to be putting his feet to the fire. And we've continued to do that. I've said, Governor, show me the science, and there's silence because Governor Murphy does not understand public health and does not understand science. So we need health professionals back in Washington. So that's step two. Step three, we got to get our stimulus funding passed. Okay, there's too much pork that the Democrats keep pushing. Climate change, this or that. You know what? We're not even going to have a state at the rate that this is going with these lockdowns. We got to focus on the things that are most important to the people of New Jersey. And fourth, Elizabeth, and really important, we got to get our manufacturing jobs back to New Jersey. Let me tell you, we've lost more than half of our medical manufacturing plants right out of Jersey straight to China. Under the Obama-Biden administration, and Cory Booker was there and did nothing. And you know what happened? Our prescription drug prices went skyrocketing. Okay, we didn't save a penny, and we have a contaminated supply chain. So we got to get that back. You know, there's too much foreign reliance on China. They are not a trusted partner.
Clearly.
We can bring those jobs back to New Jersey. We can not only create economic opportunities, but it's a national security interest as well. So, Elizabeth, that's what we have to do.
You know, we talked about that last time. I think that's one of your key platforms, because I think more than ever a year ago, if you had said that to people, they would have said, yeah, I'll bring the jobs back. When you said China, they don't. But now you say that, and we recognize that this country sent something over here that really tried to take us down and destroy us. And yet we have so much of our critical manufacturing over there, our critical medical supplies. And New Jersey is a medical state. It's a pharma state. We're hurting as a result of that directly more than any other state. And you're getting a ton of calls. I love that, because your phone is ringing because there's a lot going on. It's good.
There's a lot going on.
It's a crazy night. It's a crazy night. I want you to talk about the debates because everybody was so excited. You did such a good job. What for you was the most obvious difference as a candidate, talking and hearing him talk and say, wow, we couldn't be more apart? I want you to highlight for those that missed the debate. What do you think the salient points were?
Well, first of all, you could tell that Cory Booker's heart wasn't into it. And I just went up there and spoke with passion. In fact, I just said, you know what? I'm going to say what's on every New Jerseyans' mind. And this is not a Republican issue or a Democrat issue. Yeah. This is a New Jersey issue. We've had a senator that hasn't represented us for a long time, and we're just tired of the nonsense. You know, it's just talking point after talking point with no substance.
Yeah.
You saw him go up there and pat Governor Murphy on the back. How? When you see so many of our veterans and our elderly die in the nursing homes. Then he doesn't admit the fact that he hasn't been anywhere in New Jersey since COVID started. And he started to talk about the theatrics in the Judiciary Committee when we're nominating what I believe is probably one of the most brilliant legal scholars. We should be so proud of Justice Amy Coney Barrett, and he's talking about how the country's going to end because of her nomination. It's like, how stupid do you think New Jerseyans are? So, you know, I said, Senator, you know, we need a senator, not a celebrity. And that's the bottom line. And I think everybody understood that because they see him showboating from his days hanging out with T-Bone to him even bringing up how he used to shovel people's driveways. Give it a rest, buddy, you know? So, you know, yeah, exactly. So, you know, we actually started a constituent line. I've given my phone number to every single person up and down the state. We've fielded hundreds of thousands of phone calls for people, from simple things like what's my platform to how do I fill out my ballot. But that's what we need. We need someone who wants to roll up their sleeves, fight for the people of New Jersey. You saw that Senator Booker couldn't even answer, you know, basic questions. And the worst about it is that they didn't have a plan. Okay. Yeah. Right now, people are scared of COVID. Yeah. They're scared about their small business. They're scared about how they're going to feed their family. And we got to get people back to work, but we got to do it safely. The virus is real, but we can't let the virus control us. We got to control the virus. And we cannot live in a fear-mongering state that Governor Murphy has created. And Cory Booker just wanted to look the other way. Yeah. He didn't answer or own up to the fact that he's been campaigning in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, in swing states for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Right. And he couldn't even answer a basic question about whether or not he's going to complete his second term. Even the moderator gave him an out by saying, well, maybe 2 years. Now, you're a 6-year senator for 6 years, barely finished his first term. So the salient points are that you heard that Cory Booker had no plan, that he hasn't been here for the people of New Jersey, and that he couldn't answer basic questions about his whereabouts, and that his head is not in the game. And so we really held his feet to the fire. We had to, you know, just say what was on everybody's mind, and then talk about what we're going to do. Because I'm not here to pick on the senator or make personal attacks. That's not my style. Right. My style is very simple. We're disappointed in him, but let me talk to you about what Rick Maida is going to bring to the table and how I'm going to represent the entire state of New Jersey. And I think that's what's most important. People want to know, what am I going to do for them, and how are we going to represent their interest? And we haven't had that. People don't know, and this is why I'm down in South Jersey, because, you know, when Cory Booker does go south of Route 78, he ends up in Philadelphia. Yeah. So, you know, he forgets about beautiful Atlantic County, Salem, Cumberland, Gloucester, Camden, Cape May, Ocean, Monmouth, Middlesex, you know, Burlington, Gloucester, all of these other counties that are so beautiful. We don't need just representation of our elected officials to come from North Jersey or from Newark. You know, I love North Jersey. But for too long, Senator Booker has taken advantage of that.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, you know, you don't have to have personal attacks. I mean, some of this stuff is funny. We got to laugh at ourselves. But the reality is when you try to figure out what he's done, and as a constituent, I did this. I went to his website to figure out his website, right, which should be sort of, you know, polishing everything. And I'm looking through, what has he accomplished? I see a lot of co-sponsoring this or that, nothing that really means anything. And voters are getting smart, Rick. We're getting smarter and smarter and smarter. We want you to tell us, what does that mean for us? Because we're hurting and we're concerned about the future for our children. And especially in New Jersey, yes, you're going to Washington. As I've said to every congressional candidate tonight, yeah, you're going to Washington, but you're representing us. Like, you need to bring the love back to us. Who cares about us? And especially in a time when our governor only cares about himself. You know, he's not looking out for anything but his own interest, his own future, his own political gain. So I have a hard time if I were to say, here's what Cory Booker has done. I'm telling you honestly, I can't bring the words. I don't know what it is. And I don't know how to translate that to say, I want you to go back for another 6 years and continue to do nothing for me. So for you to say, I'm going to listen, I'm going to be there, I'm going to fight for you, that is really everything to voters.
Well, absolutely. And actually, the other part of the debate, if you caught this, Cory Booker actually admitted that all of his legislative accomplishments were with President Trump. So I said, well, thank you, Senator, for admitting that President Trump's policies are working. And then he went and had to, then he had to backpedal and say, well, something about children in cages and making up, you know, phony stuff. And I said, no, you know, that happened under Obama. But putting that aside, we got him to admit that President Trump's policies are working. He had no other answer, because he knows that his only legislative accomplishments were done under President Trump. They could have easily been done under President Obama. But guess what? They had no commitment to the Black community. They didn't. They absolutely did not. Criminal justice reform could have been done under President Obama. I've said it time and time again. It happened under President Trump. Yes, because President Trump had the commitment to getting it done, because he cares about the communities. He cares about Black and brown communities. He cares about all Americans, because he doesn't play into identity politics. And so, you know, he started on his long narrative about, you know, white supremacy, of which, you know, everyone denounces for, you know, years on years, but he'll continue with the same rhetoric and narrative, none of which makes sense. So again, you're absolutely right. He has no accomplishments to hang on his belt other than the ones that he was able to get under President Trump. And he was able to admit last night that President Trump's policies are working.
Yeah, well, that's telling the truth. I mean, that's just telling the truth, right? I mean, we've lost that in politics, the ability to say that, hey, this is a good bill, this is a good decision. Now it's just so incredibly difficult to get people to tell the truth. What we have learned, and everyone on this page, Rick, you know, it's a Women for Trump page. We now have doubled in size. And I don't know if you know what happened this weekend. We were taken down. Yes. And President Trump tweeted for us. And I want to tell you what, that's amazing. And it wasn't because he has a specific relationship with anybody who built this page. It's because he watches what his people are going through and he cares about it. And I have to tell you, that move alone, that spirit of Donald Trump, listen, in 4 years, he's going to be gone. But the spirit of what he brought to this country is what we need in candidates like you, that you listen to us, you care about us, you pick up that phone, you do something for us. He went to Facebook and stood up for us. And that's just an example. It's a great story, but it's an example of the spirit behind the kind of governing that Trump does. And we need that in our candidates.
Well, absolutely. And again, people like Cory Booker, you know, most of the money he's raised is by special interest, corporate interest. I mean, he's out in secret parties hosted by Google, Facebook. Even remember when he ran for his first term for U.S. Senate 6 years ago and he was mayor of Newark, he was out there raising money for a tech company as a startup and made millions of dollars. He didn't have $1 million before he went into the Senate. He became a millionaire after he became senator.
Right.
How is that possible? Unless you're bought out by special interest. And he is bought out by Facebook, Google, and every big tech company. That censorship is real. I'm so proud of all of what you've done, the New Jersey Women for Trump, for standing up. Priscilla and all of you have done an incredible job in the throes of clear tech and media bias. Even in my own race, the media never got interested in my candidacy and what I brought to the table until President Trump tested positive for COVID and I happened to be at his fundraiser. Then they started calling me. I said, really? I said, we've made history here. I'm the first person of color. You know, the media loves identity politics. I was the first person of color to win the nomination here. Did you want to, you know, maybe highlight that? They couldn't care less. They couldn't care less. They wanted to know what food was being served at the fundraiser buffet.
Yeah, that was really, I'm embarrassed for the mainstream media, and I am outraged at the censorship. And when you go to Washington, I want you to bring on our page founders, Priscilla and Comfrey and Tracy Lore, to testify, right? Because I'm telling you, the story is amazing, and we've got to deal with Section 230. We've got to deal with the monopoly that is social media. It is affecting everyone. We have seen outrageous things, and it's frankly election interference. It is absolutely election interference. So we need senators like you to stand up. I know that Senator Cruz and Mike Lee are doing things, and I would like to see you be part of that when you go to Washington in January. So listen, I want you to kind of wrap everything up for people in terms of who you are, your experience, why they need to vote. You know, a lot of people have voted already. And by the way, I'm watching the comments and it's go Rick, go Rick, go Rick. But everyone who's listening, if you haven't voted, get that ballot in a drop box. Make sure you vote for Rick and tell your friends and family. This is no small thing. You present major change. So I want you to wrap it up for people so they can remember why you are an important candidate.
If there's one thing I want the viewers to remember, it's that we have to make New Jersey a place to live, not leave. I mean, that truly wraps up my entire campaign. And like I said, I've done a lot in my life. I'm a health professional, attorney, a law professor, a biotech entrepreneur. None of that matters unless I can't take care of my family, because being a husband and a father for me comes first. I got 3 boys that I want to raise right here in New Jersey, and we have to make New Jersey a place to live, not leave. New Jersey gets the worst grades on our report card for our business climate. Our small businesses are getting crushed, and our economy is hurting. We're in a recession. People are lining up at food banks. You don't have elected officials up in Washington in the US Senate coming out to care about you, to take care of you,
That's
to
right.
ask you what you need. I'm the guy that's going to be there for you. And
Yep.
so get out the vote. I know I've heard it. We probably all sound like a broken record. We have one more day to make Cory Booker a 1-term senator. Get out the vote and be Jersey proud.
I love it. I love it, Rick. From your lips to God's ears, as we say. We can do this. We can push you over the finish line. And we've got a little friend of yours here. Hold on. I'm going to add him. Are you ready, Billy? Billy. Look who we have.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey, what's up, brother?
All right. All right. We got some audio issues there, Billy. We'll work them out. Rick, thank you. We will be watching everything and hoping to celebrate with you, Rick.
Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America. Good night.
Got it. Bye-bye. Okay, Billy, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And yourself?
I'm so glad to have you back. We've got a little bit of audio issues. I don't know if you have a headset, earbuds.
Give me 1 second.
If you could do that. So everyone who's listening, while Billy sets that up, he is running in District 9. And Billy has been a candidate. We're going to talk about that. Anybody that's been to the rally, anybody that's seen Billy talk has been blown away. And we're super excited about him as a candidate and definitely for the future of our party. So Billy, can you hear me okay? Can you?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me better now?
Oh, we can hear you so much better. That's great. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Great. Thank God.
All right.
Thank God.
So let's start over. Billy, welcome back to New Jersey Women for Trump. We're so happy to have you here.
It's always great to be on here, and I want to say thank you for a lot of the support. It sounds like NJ Women for Trump and I are going up a real similar battle right now with social media.
Tell us what you've been facing.
Well, right now it's like I've been my social media reach. I've noticed that coming around the curve of the election, my social media reach has decreased despite me getting like 300, 400 followers a day. My posts are getting nowhere near the amount of visibility that they had before. Anthony Calandro, he's been getting shadow banned as well. La Trumpista, the Lexit coordinator for New Jersey, her page got deleted, just came back today. They shut down NJ Women for Trump. Yeah. And it's like, this is something that I've been telling people about for a very long time. I said, listen, the second Facebook starts to get too big, or Google starts to get too big, or even MySpace at the time when I was talking about this stuff gets too big, they're going to take control of what the narrative is for a lot of people. And it's like, right now, they portray themselves as being a public utility that anybody can get on, anybody can utilize the service and get the word out. Yet they're deleting, manipulating, and distorting facts and information. And that goes for YouTube as well, manipulating what people see and what they get to hear, and claiming that they're not an editor, but they're acting as if they're an editor. If you want to be an editor, you want to be able to censor and control the narrative, then you should face the same restrictions that the media does as well. And social media is not doing that. I heard you guys talking a little bit earlier about the Section 230 thing, and I'm like, man, wait till I get on here and start talking about this, because it's like, I've been going through it for the longest. For those of you guys that know, it's like one of the main reasons why a lot of people have been able to hear about what I'm saying is because of social media. With COVID, not a lot of people were out and about, except for us patriots that wanted to go out. But a lot of people weren't able to get the message or hear the word. So the best thing that I could do was get on social media. And I've been on social media since, well, marketing, I should say, on social media since 2013. So I've been running Facebook ads for a very, very long time, social media ads for a very, very long time. And I know how the internet works. Like I know how to get the word out there. So I can see when things are being shadow banned, when they're being held back, and all kinds of stuff. And I've never experienced anything like this. Like I've seen Facebook change, and it just seems more and more as it starts to change, it starts to get more and more draconian. It starts to get more and more controlled. For example, right after the election of 2016, when they said there was a bunch of Russian interference, if you are trying to set up a Facebook account now, and it's the first time I ever did this on a political side, I didn't realize how much restrictions there are with the politics page. You got to put your FEC number, your driver's license. They got to mail a card to your house so you can verify to make sure you are who you say you are, verify the campaign identification, all this stuff, just to make sure that you really are who you say you are. And still, you face restrictions. Yeah. I posted a screenshot earlier on my my Instagram yesterday, showing that it's stating that, you know, no political ads can be ran from the 27th of October until November 4th. Which is pretty interesting because I still see a bunch of Biden advertisements and New Jersey for Democrats advertisements all over social media, but I can't post anything. Very interesting. A lot of conservative content is not showing where it used to show. It's very difficult to find some people without even typing their full entire name. That's right. I'm sick and tired of that. Yep. They know for a fact that many people that are home are on social media. Yeah, most people aren't watching TV the way they used to. So even on CNN and MSNBC and all these other news stations, you see them predominantly at the top of searches when you're on YouTube and you're trying to find some current information. Back in the day, it used to be YouTubers, regular guys, they'll put that kind of stuff on there and you get the information that way. Now it's becoming a very controlled narrative to the point that we don't really have many places to look to actually get the word out. And the fact that they're working this hard to try and distort, censor, manipulate, and obfuscate the information really shows me they're definitely nervous. They're very, very scared about what's actually happening. Yeah. They know, and I believe, you know, because I've spoken with a lot of people, and a lot of people are very, not pessimistic, but nervous and on the fence about this. Me, personally, honestly, maybe I'm naively optimistic, but I am very confident that Donald Trump is going to win again, 100%. There's no disputing it. It's like some people are just like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna work. I don't know if he's gonna do it. And I'm like, listen, man, for all we know, the vote by mail will probably work to our benefit. You know, a lot of people aren't filling these ballots out properly. A lot of people's ballots are getting rejected. Some people are getting duplicates that are getting thrown out. These guys are doing all kinds of fraud. And of course, it's going to open up an investigation whether Biden wins or Trump wins. No matter who wins, it's going to get contested. But the fact of the matter is, I've been saying this to a couple of people, and someone did a really good article that I posted on my Facebook page with all kinds of links and statistics and numbers and things like that. And the article basically is the case for why New Jersey may go red. And I've been saying this for a while. I'm like, I believe this place will go red because the only places that one of two things has to happen is the densely populated areas happen to be the most democratically controlled areas. You know, Newark, Irvington, Patterson, places like mine, things like that. What they're noticing is that there's not a lot of people on the Democrat. Like, there's Democrats filling out their ballots, don't get me wrong, but there's not a lot of them actually going to do it. They're not really enthused or motivated to actually go out and vote because they're not enthusiastic about the own candidates that they've got. Most of the votes we have are people that are going to vote for Biden primarily because it ain't Trump. You ask a lot of these people, what's Biden going to do? They can't even tell you. They don't even know what they want to do. On top of that, these guys, a lot of these people are working jobs. They're doing different things. And there's so many different ways that these ballots can get messed up. Right. Yeah. On the Republican side, however, everybody's like, listen, all hands on deck. This is not a game. This is not a drill. Everybody, we got to dot every I, you know, cross every T, make sure grandma's done it. Make sure, you know, uncle's done it. Make sure everybody come to my house on Wednesday. We're all going to fill out the ballots. We're going to do it the right way. Right. And everybody, am I lying or no? Am I lying or no? It's like everybody knows that it's like they're probably going to screw this. They're probably going to screw this. So it's like, you know what? We really got to get all hands on deck with this one. Yeah. And when I see that, look, yesterday when we were in Wayne, I was on News 12. I had no idea that I was on News 12 when I was talking. I'm not sure if you saw it, but yeah, because like yesterday I was at the Wayne rally. There was a Wayne Trump rally, and it was in support of Rosemary Becky and a few of the other candidates that are running outside of Wayne. And at this event, you know, News 12 is up there. I didn't even know it was News 12. I thought it was an independent news source that had like a really big camera and stuff. If you go on Instagram, you can watch the full speech. Right. But apparently what I said in the camera was live on TV. And I was so passionate and so fired up by what I was saying. Like, I dropped the F-bomb while I was talking. I had no idea that they were live. And people are calling me like, yo, Bill, that was live. News 12. Really? You know, but yeah. It's all good. You know, everybody got fired up. It's true, though.
Billy, that's though. You're the real deal. You're the real deal, and that's why you're such a breath of fresh air for everybody. Okay, so listen, you're District 9. Now, I've been saying this to everybody. Those of you listening who are District 9, if you didn't vote yet, vote, 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 vote. Get it in. But also, I want you to describe your district because everybody here is going to know somebody in your district. And you're right. The Republicans are working really hard to get those votes in. And we can keep working until tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So describe your district to everybody so they understand what it encompasses.
So the 9th district, it encompasses Passaic County, Hudson County. In Hudson County, it's only Kearney and Secaucus. And then it's Bergen County. There's 27 cities inside of Bergen County that I represent. And the way that it's set up, we have all the major cities inside of Bergen County, but the primary bulk of the voters comes from the Passaic County area, Hawthorne, Patterson, Clifton, Passaic, those areas. And when this area was gerrymandered back in 2013, I believe it was designed in such a way where the Democrat strongholds remained inside of this district.
Right.
But see, here's the thing, though. It's been like this for so long, and people have dealt with Basement Bill for so long that they're sick and tired of him. They know what he has to offer. They know what he was going to do, and he doesn't really stand for what the people are asking for these days. Right. Some people that I've met and I've spoken with, they're like, you know what? I'm going to vote for you primarily because I don't want to vote for Pascal. I know Pascal. I've dealt with Pascal. I've seen Pascal. He's on TV all the time. There's stickers of Bill Pascal from when he was running for mayor on the polls in Patterson. You know what I mean? So he's still a very well-known name, and nothing has changed. Yeah. People are not enthusiastic about Joe Biden because Joe Biden, we know what you did with the crime bill. People are not enthusiastic about Cory Booker because he knows he's a talker. Everybody knows what happened. Facebook gave you millions of dollars. And you squandered it on God knows what. And to this day, our children still don't know.
Yeah.
Our education system's been failing underneath Democratic leadership for a very long time, and nobody's actually said anything about it. The thing that makes me different from all the other candidates is I'm a product of all the things that went wrong in the 9th district. All the things that went wrong, the school system, growing up, and you know, I'm very lucky and I'm very blessed that I had the mentors and the leadership that guided me and steered me in the appropriate direction, because I could have gone in a completely different direction had I not have, you know, very influential people in my life. You know, our school system, I don't recall learning anything in school, even until I got out of high school, other than the skills I learned for like repairing computers and stuff and these other extracurricular skills we had at the time, most of which doesn't even exist in our school district. You know, while grades are failing, crime is going up even further. You know, 2 days ago, someone shot here on Broadway. The day before that, pregnant woman is killed. From the beginning of the year up until now, 80 people killed from gunfire just in Patterson alone.
Wow.
All across Bergen County, there's overdevelopment, and now overdevelopment is starting to come into Patterson as well too, where some people are even being displaced from a lot of the overdevelopment. In the outer areas, people are being displaced. The property values of a lot of people's homes are going down. And I never really thought of an issue with overdevelopment at first. I'm like, oh, it's making the area look nice, it's making it look pretty, and it's a good thing, without taking into account the fact that when you increase the amount of population, a city can only withstand so much. Right. The same way a country can only withstand so much. You're gonna have to increase your police force, increase the funds, increase the taxes to maintain all this stuff. You have to build a whole new school. And a lot of these things are things nobody's talking about. And the Democrats, they associate this to, oh, you're against small housing. You're against affordable housing. And since you're against affordable housing, then that makes you a racist, implying that, you know, African-Americans and everybody else in the minority community is only going after affordable housing. Like, there's homeowners too. People across the board are going to suffer from this. It's not going to be that good. There's nothing wrong with redevelopment, but when it gets to the point where it's excessive and it's primarily done straight up for profit without taking into consideration the ramifications of what it's going to leave for that city, then it's not benefiting anybody. These are some of the largest problems that I see going on in Bergen County. You know, over here in Passaic County on the other end, it's mainly the simple things that people care about. They want jobs, they want opportunities. Nobody wants to pay higher taxes. Higher taxes are ridiculous. New Jersey's already got really high taxes.
Yeah, no kidding.
People want safe streets, you know? And one thing that I mentioned yesterday when we were in Wayne about what's going on in the 9th district, and something that's very important that I believe everybody needs to pay attention to here, is we have a ticking time bomb on our hands with Bill Pascrell. And I heard Frank Pilata touch on it very lightly. Touch on it a little bit earlier. Bill Pascrell supports removing qualified immunity from police officers, and I didn't really think that was a big deal until about 5 months ago, because it sounds like a good idea, right? Remove qualified immunity from police officers. If they're scumbags, you can sue them, sure. But they don't go into detail with the facts that a cop that's just doing their job, that's trying to actually keep the streets safe, anybody, literally anybody, can sue them for whatever reason or anything that's on their mind. Will it go through? No. That doesn't mean it's always going to go through, but you're going to tie up the courts. You're gonna a lot of these lawsuits may end up becoming frivolous, and a lot of police officers are not only going to lose their jobs, but most of them are probably not going to want to be police officers to begin with.
Right. That's the big thing. Yep. Absolutely.
And the scariest bit about that is there's 850,000 plus police officers all across the United States. And here, Basement Bill wants to remove qualified immunity. Let's just say I lose, and I don't believe I'm going to lose because I've been going really damn hard in here, right? Let's just say I lose. Bill Pascrell is going to push that bill forward. That bill pushes forward if Rick Maida doesn't win, and I believe Rick Maida will win. If Rick Maida doesn't win, Cory Booker, you better believe he's going to toe the line and he's going to sign on that bill for qualified immunity. And now, if they try and steal this election or President Trump loses and for whatever it is that happens, and Joe Biden becomes president, you better believe he's going to sign that bill and he's going to make it into a law, thus collapsing practically the entire legal system, police system of the United States. That's going to create a power vacuum that no one is ever going to be able to fill. And the president, Joe Biden, who will be, if he is the president in this case, is not going to invoke the insurrection clause or get the military involved to try and bring the streets back to safety. No. That's not on the agenda for him. No. And from the way that it looks to me, is like I see these guys talking about a dark winter, while on the Republican side, people are talking about optimism and rebuilding our country, rebuilding our economy, bringing jobs back, finding new cures, finding the vaccine, defeating COVID-19. And these guys are talking about sending the country into chaos and how it's all going to go bad if Donald Trump wins. It's the complete contrary. We're having fun over here. These guys are full of hate and anger.
We are having so much fun, and you bring a lot of fun to that. You have an amazing way of summing up a lot of the issues that are really even specific to your district. You are such an excellent representative of the uniqueness of your district. I don't think anybody before, such a great choice that way, Billy. And you have the handle on a lot of national issues. I don't see how Basement Bill can even come close to understanding the pain that people are in your district, to be able to relate to them, to be able to come up with solutions for them. He just continues to do what he's been doing, which is not much, as I understand, for years and years. Right?
Not at all. And to make that even clearer, I've called out Basement Bill multiple times. We don't even say his full name anymore. We don't even call him Bill Pascrell anymore, because his new name is going to be Bill Past Screll, because he's in the past. Everything that he's done is in the past, and the people of the 9th District are moving forward. They're looking for new things. They're looking for a new opportunity in an entirely new 9th District. To show how much this guy is disconnected from what the people of the 9th District actually want, if you haven't seen the New Jersey Jewish Federation video, it's on my page. You could probably put it in the Angel Women for Trump's page. You can check it out for yourself. He didn't want to debate in person. It was a rigged event. It was a pre-scripted forum. They gave us the questions in advance, and even with those questions, they were all written to be a layup for Basement Bill over here. It was complete layup questions that if I answered them and I tried to do the political suit and tie guy kind of thing, it was going to jam me up. No. He thinks I don't know the Jewish community. I've grown up with lots of Jews. My campaign manager's Jewish. You think I don't understand the issues? The African Americans and the Jews were hand in hand in the middle of the civil rights movement. And he tries to get on there and talk like he's a champion for the Jewish community. And I'm like, listen, man, you can't come out here and start saying that you're against anti-Semitism and racism, because they wrote this real fake news question that went down like, President Trump has not disavowed the poor boys. I'm calling the poor boys now because that's what Biden called them.
Yes.
The Proud Boys. And the QAnon conspiracy. The QAnon conspiracy is spreading anti-Semitism worldwide and all this. Like, what do you do to stand against this? He couldn't even say QAnon. He said Quanon. He doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. He hears a bunch of these talking heads speaking words, and this guy talks about Quanon. Right? Now, this guy, you know what I mean? This guy right here, he comes in and says, like, people like my opponent support fringe, far-right, anti-Semitic conspiracy, all this nonsense. And I'm like, I can't wait to smoke you. I'm crazy. And this guy, I get on there and I say, listen, you've been in Congress 23 years. You've been here for a very long time. You are supposed to represent the 9th District, yet you go on behalf. I didn't even address this whole QAnon conspiracy stuff. Let's get to the facts, right? You guys, you're focused on a faceless figure on the internet that nobody can see. Yet you don't want to say anything about your own colleagues in Congress.
Yeah.
Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, who said some of the most anti-Semitic things in the world against Israel. And you made a joke saying you wanted to join the squad, and you sit here before the Jewish community talking about how you want to represent them and how you are against anti-Semitism. You want to sign up and join and work with anti-Semites. As a senior member of Congress, you should have held them accountable. You didn't want to do it. Yeah. These are all talking points. Talking points.
Yeah, Billy, listen, it's so clear, and I've watched your candidacy, and you're getting more and more clear about all of that. It is absolutely such a difference between the two of you. Plus, I think that Bill and Joe are in the same basement. Is that possible? Because that's a popular place.
It's a very high possibility. Blue Bill, Blue Biden.
Yeah. Listen, Billy, here's what I want you to do, because we're nearing the end of your segment, and I've got another special congressional candidate coming up. But Billy, listen, so much excitement about you. Everybody's talking. I want you to sum it up. I want you to sum it up why District 9 needs to vote. And all of us that have friends at District 9, we need to get on the phone tonight. We need to get on the phone tomorrow and say, guys, did you vote yet? This guy is going to change the way you live. So sum it up for everybody.
The best way to sum it up is this: is like when I go out and I talk to people, the reason why I know I'm making a difference, the reason why I know I'm making an impact, and I'm doing something that's completely different from what Basement Bill is doing. When I go out, when I talk with people, when I spread the word, I actually pick up the phone. I actually respond to emails. I actually respond to the text messages. I show up on time. On his website, BillPasquale.com, there is no contact form in the very top. In fact, you scroll to the very bottom there, the copyright side in the lower right-hand corner, in small blue text behind the blue background, it says contact. You can click that. Takes you to a little box. You can fill an email. No phone number to call. No address, but a P.O. box. Oh, and at the bottom, he wants your money. He wants a donation. This guy doesn't even answer the phone, yet he speaks about representing the 9th District. Yeah. See, when I go out and people see me, the greatest thing that I see is I see children that are younger, children that are like 12, 13, 17, young kids who look at me and they're like, holy crap, this guy right here in a leather jacket, glasses, an American flag says that he's going to run. This guy looks nothing like a politician. Look at what he's doing. And look at how the crowd's fired up. Look at how motivated they are. I see people coming out of the woodwork that are getting involved in politics like they've never been involved before.
That's
because
right.
Now we have something to fight for. Yeah. Whether it's me or it's the next person, I've lit a flame. We've started a movement that's never going to end. It's never going to stop. And I promise you, with what I've seen, what's going on across the country, and the enthusiasm, the silent majority has woken up. We are going to make New Jersey red. Whether we like it or not, it's going to go red. And I'm not going to stop until this place goes red, because I'm sick and tired of these guys. Someone needs to punch them in the face politically.
Well, right. Well, could you punch Murphy while you're at it? Just add him in. Is that okay?
Politically.
Okay.
Politically punch them in the face.
Okay,
politically. Right. We don't need any violence. We're not Antifa.
No violence. No violence. Billy, thank you so much. Billy, we're so excited for you. We can't wait to see what happens. And I just know you're going to be in Washington. And you know what? You've got a long career ahead of you. So thank you for coming on. Everybody, District 9, get those ballots in. And anybody that you know in District 9, tell them about this amazing candidate. Billy, thank you so much. I'm going to be adding in another congressional friend here. Jennifer Zanone is on. Billy.
Jennifer, hey, what's up?
How you doing? It's the Congressional Club. All right, Billy. Billy, we'll talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Hey, Jennifer. We've got Jennifer Zanone on here from District 10, which was a last-minute ad, and I'm so glad that you reached out and that we get a chance to have you. Welcome to New Jersey Women for Trump.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been following you guys. I've been a member for a while, so I was really excited.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. We love our members and we want everyone to get to know you. It's the night before the election. There's still a chance to vote. We still need people to do that. So Jennifer, I want you to introduce who you are, what your background is, why you chose to run for Congress. Tell us all about you.
Well, I'm in the 10th district. So it's part of Hudson, Union, and Essex counties. Crazy little zigzag. I am definitely not a politician. I did not intend to do this. I have a background in microbiology and physics.
Wow.
And I'm a writer. So it's very different for me. But I was very involved in my church that I grew up in. And the more I got involved with the community, creating community programs and just working within Bayonne and Jersey City, I started seeing needs that really weren't being met. And some of it were things that, should be met by the government. I believe in small government. So I don't think the government should get involved in all of it, but there were some things that, they really weren't doing and neglecting that they should, especially education. I was seeing these children that were being left behind, and after school programs are being cut, and technical education was being cut, and they were basically stealing these kids' futures and their hope. And I just finally had enough of it. And I said, if I could do something in a small community level with my church, can you imagine what you can do on a district-wide, a statewide, and a national-wide reach? So I finally decided, I could do a better job than this guy.
That's great.
And I decided to run.
Yeah. So tell us about how you're different than the current representative from your district, because I think that helps people understand, how they make that choice.
Well, he is a career politician. He comes from a powerful political family. I mean, he basically inherited the seat from his father. Him and his dad have held it for 30 years.
Wow.
And I don't think we could be more different.
Yeah.
He has publicly came out in support of the rioters in Portland and Seattle. They're anarchists that are intent on destroying our nation. He is for defunding the police. He is against school choice. Now, he lives in Newark. And Newark, this is like one of the hotbed items that really got me involved when I found out how poor our schools in our district are doing. American schools are 38th in the world, which is bad enough. New Jersey, though, is rated 4th in the country. But our district, my district, which includes Newark, is one of the lowest in the country. So how do you have such a disparity? The rest of the state can be 4th in the country, and we're last.
Wow.
And that's his hometown.
Yeah.
And he's against school choice, but the public schools aren't good enough for his kids. He sends his kids to private school.
That tells a lot.
So hypocritical.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can do that, and how you could actually work against giving other parents the same choice that you're taking for yourself.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest difference between us.
Right. And I think also you being not a career politician, this is the thing du jour, right? Like, we're tired of career politicians. We just really are. We need people that come to it fresh, that come to it like we are, that understand us, what it's like to not be a career politician, what it's like to have a family, right? To try to live in New Jersey, pay the taxes, deal with all this stuff we're dealing with. And we need somebody who can relate to us. So you've been working hard, I'm sure, knocking on doors, making phone calls. What do you keep hearing from your constituents that they keep saying, Jennifer, this is my number one issue?
Well, it's very different from what the number one issue was back in February and March.
Yeah.
So I try to take that into consideration as well. So back then, it was the cost of healthcare, it was education, and it was job security. Because as well as Donald Trump has done for our nation, our area has not recovered the way that other states have. New Jersey used to be the manufacturing hub for pharmaceuticals in the world.
Right.
My father worked at Bristol Myers Squibb most of his adult life in manufacturing. So he was there when they closed down. He knows the thousands of people that lost their jobs just for that one company. And we need to bring that back.
Yeah.
And our politicians, I say possibly because they're Democrats, they have not brought these jobs back. They have not worked for us.
Right.
And that's what we send them there for.
Right.
So that was the biggest issues that people were facing before the virus.
Right.
And once the virus happened, that's the number one concern. And it just basically blew up the concerns that they had before, though, because education now has taken a drastic change where the majority of them are from home.
Yeah. Right.
And jobs, the majority of people, look at what our jobs numbers are now. So it's just accentuated problems that people are already having.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that we already had pain in this state and we were already heading in the wrong direction. And the virus did that. It just sort of brought out all the issues even more. How, this is not a state for small business. This is not a state that supports, obviously our ability to have better schools where we need them. And, just too expensive and property taxes and all this stuff. So I want you to talk about what you do in January, because when you go to Washington to be the representative of your neighbors and the people in your district, what are the things you're going to fight for right away?
Well, those are the main things. Education. I want to bring school choice to every parent who wants.
Absolutely.
We definitely need to do that. But not only that, because we can't just give up on these public schools because some kids are still going to them. So we need to fix them. We need to bring back technical training. Kids should not have to go to college if they don't want to. We've seen what colleges do now.
Yes.
They should be able to get a good job. I've been talking to a lot of teachers in the district, a lot of parents and some kids, and I was surprised. I spoke with a plumbing teacher in Newark. So they do still have some technical training.
Wow. Yeah.
He teaches at a high school, but he said that one time he took his kids up to the computer lab and he wanted them to research how to start their own business, to go into plumbing as their own boss. He said you could get like $400 just showing up at a job. I mean, that's a good job. So we want to teach these kids how to create a business plan. And, if you fail, what can you do to succeed next time? Which I thought was fantastic. Right. Well, he said that the principal called him into the office the next day and told him that he never wants to see those kids in the computer lab again, keep them down in his workshop.
Oh my goodness. All right.
So, it's unbelievable that anybody would say that. It's somebody that's trying to give hope to kids.
And we need kids to choose the trades. I mean, I know Ivanka Trump was working on that. We need to support the trades. And listen, if you can combine the trades with entrepreneurism, there is like unlimited opportunity. I mean, in 10 years, we're not going to be able to call an electrician because nobody's doing it. Nobody's going into plumbing. Nobody's going. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that's a major thing that people are forgetting and not focusing on. And it gives our children choices. They don't feel so confined to one path.
Exactly. And because maybe that path isn't for them. Right. And they shouldn't feel like failures if they can't go into that. Like I know a guidance counselor who says that they're supposed to be just focused on what kind of colleges kids can get into. And they're not supposed to like encourage them to go this route. And I can't understand why. It's unbelievable. So that's a huge thing that I want to be involved in.
I love that. And our colleges are just the absolute epicenters of, liberalism anyway, and not all of them, but a lot of them. And they're contributing to just a lot of the craziness and a lot of the things that are happening. So I love that idea. Nobody's really been talking about that. I know Ivanka Trump was working on something with that, but being a champion of that, I think is fabulous. What are you hearing about with law and order? We talked about that tonight with almost every candidate. I think there's some concerns now with the election, what's going to happen. I've seen people on Facebook posting about prepping and getting ready for 2 weeks of, shutdowns and this and that. I mean, is this really where we live? I mean, I'm shocked at how we are facing this.
I am shocked every single day when I watch the news with some of it. It's just not the way a civil society behaves. That you see on the news last night that stores in Manhattan are boarding up. Yeah. And I don't understand how we ever got this far. I mean, 10 years ago, could you ever have imagined that? I mean, these people would be in jail. And I think that's just such a stark reminder of how important every level of government is. And I am guilty of that as well. I mean, before the last few years, I probably didn't pay as much attention to the local candidates as I should have. But they are the ones that are, the mayors are the ones that are telling the police to stand down.
Crazy.
And so and I think we're seeing it. I've seen this amazing, and everybody has across the nation, but this amazing grassroots coalition of people that are not part of the established party in the state. And they're coming together and they're starting to stand up and they're starting to fight. So I think people are really becoming aware of it.
Yeah.
And we just have to continue that. We have to ride that wave no matter what happens tomorrow. I mean, we have to continue this. It has to be long-term plans because we have to put people in as mayors, as city council members, as school board members.
Yes.
This is an unpaid position, but they have such an influence on the education your child gets.
You are so right.
On all levels, on freeholders, on assemblymen, state. I mean, it's so important. And look at what Murphy's doing.
Yeah, no, listen, you bring up such an important point. I mean, I know you're running to represent us in Washington, but the fact that you understand, I mean, local politics is where it all starts. Local politics is how you feel every day about, where you live and the way you experience things, and it builds from there. So I agree with you, Jen. I think people have woken up in a way that they never have before. My prayer and your prayer is that we see that in the results tomorrow or whatever day the results come out. But you know what? Even if we don't get everything we want in the next couple of weeks, we have to stay in the fight. We have to stay in the fight for the long term, for our kids, for the future of this country, and for people like you that have these kind of ideas, that you can bring that common sense back to governing. Common sense. When did we lose that? Where did that go?
I think it went out when people started spending 40 years in office.
Yes, good point.
Because that's not how our country was supposed to be.
Right.
We were founded to have citizen statesmen. I mean, people that were part of the community, like you said earlier. They had ideas on what needed to be fixed at that point. Yeah. And they go to Washington or go to Trenton and they solve the problems that they're there. And then they go home and go back to their lives. But we have people now that are there for lifetimes. Joe Biden has been in office for longer than I've been alive.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I mean, that's got to tell you
that's not good.
How connected is he to the American people that he wants to represent?
That's not good. That scares me. And you're right. If you go back to the founding fathers, you are so right. They were meant to do what they did at home, represent us in Washington. It was never a career. Yeah. And somewhere along the line, we lost track of that. Now you can go in like Joe Biden did as, a middle-class person or whatever, and come out a bazillionaire. And how do you think that happened? I mean, where did that money come from? Gee, what a mystery, right? It must be all a conspiracy theory. It's not what was intended, and we are up against that in the biggest way. And it's frightening to me. Now, I want you to talk about COVID from the standpoint of what's happened in the state, and also, I look at Biden and he says more mandates, more shutdowns. I hear that from Murphy. And I look over on the other side at Trump and that spirit, and it's light and bright and airy, and it's do what we need to do, but let's get back to our lives. Hey, as a mom, this has been horrific for kids. Okay. Unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awful. And I can't. I see people how they attacked Trump when they found out, that he was trying to calm people down. Isn't that a leader's job?
Yes.
I mean, that's exactly what he's supposed to do. And if he didn't do that, they would criticize him for that.
Yes.
We don't want panic in the streets. I mean, it was bad enough with people hoarding toilet paper. I mean, can you imagine what would have happened? And he did what he needed to do without scaring us. He shut down travel to China. He shut down travel to Europe. When Nancy Pelosi was out in Chinatown hugging people. And when the health official in Washington, D.C. was telling people you can keep riding the subway.
Right.
mean, these people forget these things. So I think he did what he needed to do. And yes, it was confusing in the beginning because it was a novel virus.
Correct.
Nobody knew anything. Fauci kept changing his mind. And it's not faulting him either, though, because they didn't know. And with my background in microbiology, I mean, I am acutely aware of that and of how the research goes. And, there's nothing they could have done differently. Everything that Biden says he's going to do when he's President Trump's already done.
I know that confuses me. I'm like, wait a minute, are you plagiarizing? Like I'm
he does that.
the new idea. But, let's remind everybody your background. This is what I love about America, is that you're running for Congress and your background is in microbiology. This is fascinating to me. It gives you a different viewpoint than anyone else. So now, such a time as this, Jen, because we're facing this pandemic that's going to linger in whatever way it is. So now that we've been through, and with your background, if you go to Washington, what do you do next? Like, what is your position now in COVID? How do we move forward?
Okay. I don't think shutdowns are the answer. Now that
Thank
we
you.
know better the way that it works,
Yeah.
I mean, it has a 1% mortality rate, or 2%, but it's bad, but it's not enough to shut down the economy and to have children home losing a year and a half of education. And now they're saying on the news that we might be like this until 2022.
Oh my God, no.
It's unbelievable. Now, I have two older parents, and they have checked all of the boxes for, the comorbidities. My mom has diabetes, COPD. They both have heart disease.
Yeah.
So with them, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
And we know that.
We've always known that. We've always known that, though. We've known that in every flu season, every situation. Yes. I think somewhere along the way, we lost the idea that we actually are smart people for the most part. Most of us know most of us know what to do. Yeah. Give us a chance. Give us a chance to make those good decisions rather than ramming it down our throat.
Right. I have faith in people.
Yeah.
I think that's a big difference, maybe. I don't know, but I believe that most people will do what's needed on their own. You know, they don't need to be forced to wear a mask when they're outside alone, not near anybody. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And when you read through even our state constitution, Murphy does not have the authority that he keeps giving himself every month. And the fact that the legislators keep letting him do it without stopping him, it tells you how important next year's elections are to get in Republican assemblymen and state senators, because he does not have the right to do this. He is not a king of New Jersey.
Yeah, no, well, he is right now. He is absolutely the king right now. And, we're in trouble there. And we need people like you to go to Washington to help us. But after this election, we need to focus ourselves seriously on just cleaning house, because right now we have one person doing things in Trenton, one person, no one's standing up to him. The Republicans are trying, but it's not working. And
they don't have enough voices.
No, not enough. Yeah. So we do need to focus on that.
The one thing, and I mean, there's no bright side to this, but if you look for something, a big part of the issues that I was concerned with before the virus was drug costs, which Trump has done a lot. That's going to take effect in January. But I have not only a background in research, but I have a background in the patient side of it on experimental medication. I have a disease of the eyes, and I was treated at NIH on experimental meds. So I know the whole patient side of it. And what I think really needs to happen is we need to revamp our FDA clearance process, because that increases the cost of drugs dramatically. Yeah. And it takes 20 years sometimes for a drug to get to market. And I am hoping that this fast track that the president gave to get the coronavirus treatments and vaccines that we need, I hope that they're proven safe, and that can be then taken and used for all of the drugs.
As a model. As a model to get us,
I'm hoping.
To get us innovation faster. Yeah.
Yes. Because that could lower costs dramatically. That could help save lives. I mean, there are so many drugs that don't come to market because it's too costly for them to go through this process, which the drug that saved my eyesight, I could never get it.
Wow.
It's too costly, and they never finished the phases. So I think that's one thing that I would love to work on in
Okay,
January.
do it. That's great. See, you bring your own flavor to it. So Jen, we're reaching the top of the hour. I want to remind everybody that you are District 10. Now, listen, if you're listening and you're in District 10, and if you're listening tomorrow, because we get a lot of people on replay, a lot of people, you can still vote. We need you to vote. We need you to vote. Call your friends and family who are in District 10. So Jennifer, give everybody that last wrap up of why you for Washington and why they need to make sure they check your name.
Because I have fresh ideas. I actually want to go and do my job.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay home like my opponent has. I care about these issues deeply. They affect me. They affect my family and my friends. And I really do believe that they can help.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, if everybody's watching, get out and vote for all of the Republicans down the line. Like, I've been going all over the state. I've gotten to be friends with a lot of the candidates. Billy and I have been friends. I'm probably going to see him tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So I think that we have some really quality candidates out there, and it's just important. You got to get people out there. You got to vote. I saw in Union County, only 17% of the ballots returned so far are Republicans.
No, that's not good.
It's not enough. You have to get out. And I know that people are afraid with this mail-in voting, but we have to get over it, because we have no other choice. You have no choice. This is the only way that you can get your voice heard. And it is so important now. I mean, my district has been in Democrat hands for 70 years.
Oh my gosh, too long.
Yes. And we've almost given up. I mean, the state party, they don't even look at us. The media doesn't even look at us. I had a reporter last week said they wanted to do a story on me because nobody's looked into it. Well, I've been here,
Yeah, here I am.
Yes, and there's other districts that have been in the same thing, like Billy's. And we need to start taking them back, because if you don't get out there and you don't talk about it to your friends and neighbors, why you should vote Republican, nobody will ever vote Republican, and we will never win in this district. So we have to start. It's so important. And that's just the biggest thing that I've been asking people to do.
Yeah, well, the time is now, and we have less than 24 hours, 23 hours, I think, to be exact, before the polls close tomorrow night. And everybody that's listening, remember, you don't have to go to the polls. We really don't want you to. We want you to use your mail-in ballot, because if you don't use that, it's going to be provisional, and we don't even need to get into how horrible that is, because we've been beating that drum forever. But guys, your mail-in ballot, you can take it to a drop box between now and 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And, I know some people are going to go to the polls. At this point, Jennifer, we just want them to vote. So whatever they need to do, vote. Talk to your friends and family. Candidates like you are really critical to us changing the trajectory of what's going on in this state and supporting President Trump and what he wants to do instead of constant impeachment and investigation. So we need you there.
Absolutely. It's
Thank
so
you
important, right? This is like our last chance.
Yeah, it's like our last chance. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being a member of the page. It's great. It's great that you are. And I know someone's saying here, Jennifer, you're a breath of fresh air. You're really a great candidate. We're excited about you. So we're excited to see what happens, and really hope we see you in Washington. Jennifer, thank you. And everybody, don't forget to vote, guys. This is it. We'll be back Wednesday night with Jennifer Waters, who we all love to talk to. Hopefully we have a lot to celebrate. But this is it, guys. We got to go to the polls. Go, vote. Jennifer, best of luck to you. Best of luck to you. Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. Bye.